Hello! In this video we're going to discuss the different variations of reclining spinal twists that are available to us in Yin Yoga. So let's keep our props nice and nearby and come down to our backs to have a look at the various options available. So lowering yourself slowly down to the floor, keeping your feet on the ground. And the very first option that we can take is a simple bent knee spinal twist. So there's various ways that you can approach this. The very first way is simply by bringing your feet a little bit closer together, maybe dropping both knees over to the side, taking your arms out to the side, and then taking the twist like this. Now, if you can see with my top leg, my top leg is hanging there, which might not necessarily feel great for that full 5-minute hold. So it can be nice if that's happening to you to pop some kind of cushion between your legs. And this variation of the pose is actually offering quite a nice stretch, a little bit more into the outer hip and side waist and side back. Now, if we begin to draw the knees a little bit closer, this changes the sensation, this shifts slightly the stretch around that area that I was just discussing. Likewise, your arm position here, if I take my back arm, so my opposite arm to my bent knees, somewhat more overhead, and then pick up my head and turn it either up to the ceiling or looking under that armpit, taking the spine into a full rotation there, then again, this kind of moves that stretch a little bit further up through the side body there. If your knees don't comfortably reach the floor, then you can pop a block underneath your knees, your lower legs, your feet. You can take this bottom hand here on the same side as the bent knees and lightly place it onto the top of the top leg. But again, we're not forcing here ever in Yin Yoga. It's just something light, a light bit of proprioception there from our own body to encourage that gentle opening. And you can even experiment with drawing your knees even closer to you. And this is going to shift the stretch a little bit more potentially across the lower back. And again, find the arm position and the head position that works for you here. And if your knees are closer into your chest, then you can roll up in between sides and take a little bit of a lower back stretch by just interlacing your hands lightly over your shins, making sure the back of the neck keeps nice and long. And you can drop to the other side, or you can access the pose straight away this way if you prefer, by lifting the feet and dropping the knees over to the side. And to do the other side, and we pick up the head and we turn to wherever feels right for us. Now, another thing to bear in mind with these bent knee spinal twists, doing them this way, well, with any spinal twists in fact on the floor, you can have various options. Now, for some of you, getting your knees down to the floor will mean that shoulder will be lifted, and that's absolutely fine. Just pop some kind of prop onto that arm, onto the back of that shoulder, and experience the pose this way. So you can have two options. If you prefer to have your knees grounded and your shoulder lifted, then you can approach the pose that way. Or maybe when your shoulder grounds, your knees lift up and you prefer to take the propping underneath the knees or the legs. Or maybe you'd like a prop under both, and that's absolutely fine too. So slightly different sensations to play about with. How those sensations manifest in your body will be different with everyone. So it's just become inquisitive about how these little shifts can shift around these tissues of your outer hip, your lower back, up your side body, and up your spine. We can also come down into a pose called twisted roots. So twisted roots is really good for accessing a deep stretch in the outer hips, the gallbladder meridian. Depending on the rotation, the internal rotation that you have available to you in your hip joints, will depend how comfortable this pose is for you to hook the leg or not. By no means is binding an end goal or necessary. So I will show you both options. So coming down, drawing your knees into your chest and crossing your legs as if you were sat at a desk. So stacking one knee over the other knee. And then we're going to try internally rotating our thigh bones in the hip sockets towards each other, drawing this foot somewhere in towards that bottom, the top foot in towards the bottom ankle and calf. Now for some of you, taking a hook there will feel perfectly natural. Maybe you have quite a lot of internal rotation available to you. That's not my case. That doesn't feel great for me, so I prefer leaving my legs unhooked most of the time. And then you can either directly take your legs over to keep your knees a bit higher, or you can tap your feet down to the floor and drop the knees. And again, you can play about, just as I said before, with having those knees lifted and the shoulder grounded and maybe taking some kind of prop and turning your head away. Or we can drop the knees and support underneath that arm and shoulder instead. So finding whatever works for you, and then we unravel. Maybe just drop the knees together in the center, walking the feet a little bit further away from each other. Taking constructive rest pose. And then after a short rebound, then we come to visit the other side. So playing about with that internal rotation of the thigh bones in the hip sockets. Actually for me, this side is easier to hook than the other. I've got slightly differently orientated hip sockets, and that's perfectly normal. We're not symmetrical as humans. And then we play about with all these variants on the other side until we find that sweet spot today. So that is twisted roots. And again, maybe just take a moment to neutralize the pelvis, neutralize the spine. And then you would want to come down into maybe a Shavasana rebound for a few moments, for a few minutes maybe. So one other variation that we can take is we can have our one leg extended. And again, making sure you've got those props to hand is going to be really important for getting this right. So from our supine position, we extend one leg along the mat. So I'm extending my right leg, and we bring the other leg in towards us. Now this bent knee is going to come across the body, and I know straight away that I feel better taking that leg onto a prop in my case. My shoulder is actually slightly lifted off the ground on the other side, but not so much so that I feel that I need a prop. However, you can, if you just have small spaces, sometimes a little blanket tucked under there can feel nice. I could allow that knee to come all the way down, or I could have it substantially higher up. Again, just playing about with these parameters all the time to see what feels right for you. And then coming back through center, and I would take a moment just to release through the lower back, drawing that knee into your chest for a few breaths. And then in between sides, it can feel quite nice to come into a Shavasana to kind of compare the difference between the two sides, feel the different sensations that are occurring on one side to the other before drawing the other knee in, taking it across your body and finishing with the other side. Lovely. So that is spinal twists, supine spinal twists in yin yoga. Lots to play about with there. I hope you found that interesting and useful. Thank you very much. Namaste. Bye-bye.